And we're live, diving right in. Content provided at the events for general information only, not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Any performance preference is historical and no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged, may not be invested into directly. Any economic forecast set forth during the event may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that any strategy will be successful. These thoughts and opinions are those of Gimbal Financial and do not represent the views of LPL Financial Securities offered through LPL Financial, member of FINRA, SIPC. Investment advice offered through Gimbal Financial, registered investment advisor, and separate entity from LPL Financial. I've been practicing in my spare time. Can you tell?
You do that in front of a mirror?
Yeah, just to myself. I am a bored person. No, but good morning, Keith, and good morning, Doug. How are you guys?
I'm well. It's good to see you guys this morning.
You too.
I'm doing great too. I love this change of the seasons. My neighborhood is absolutely beautiful with color right now. Had the sunroof back on the way in and a hot coffee. It's tough to beat that. It's a great start to a good day.
Amen to that. I couldn't agree more. I haven't even been outside, but I just know the weather this last week has been absolutely gorgeous.
I understand that the fall brings a parade our way. I think 2 o'clock today, there's a parade somewhere around here, so that should be some excitement in Carmel today.
Yeah, I was asking my son if he's going to go to the homecoming dance, and he told me it's a virtual dance. How do you do a virtual dance?
If this wasn't recorded, I'd show you a virtual dance, but I'll save you guys the risk.
I have never heard of such a thing. That'll be interesting.
Right.
I hope he attends just so he can give us some feedback on actually what a virtual dance looks like.
I don't think he's attending. He wasn't too excited about it.
I can't imagine why.
I'm going to a high school football game tonight, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Who are you going to watch?
HSE plays Noblesville, and a friend of mine's, I don't know what you call him, his son, his little brother, is one of the star receivers. And he caught 2 touchdown passes last week, so we're going to go check out how he does tonight.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Very cool. Well, last week I was picking on Keith, looking at a stock chart, asking Keith what in the world he did to the stock market, because the month of September was not all that great. And then all of a sudden, things started to pick up again until this morning.
Well, can I share my screen?
Yeah, what's your take on things there, Mr. Keith?
Do you guys see my COVID tracker?
Oh, yeah.
I do.
We'll go with that first?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, that's why the market's down. Donald Trump is diagnosed positive with COVID, and that's big news. I mean,
that is.
You all of a sudden go from the uncertainty of just the market and traditional election year uncertainty to the actual at-risk health of our president. Is a big deal. I think, I forget if he's about 74, so he's in the this range over here where it's a lot higher risk. This chart here shows the percent of the population 65 to 74 is 9.3% of the U.S. population, and yet of all the COVID diagnosed deaths, 22% of them are happening in that range, but he's very quickly to be in this next one. So he's in a much higher risk scenario than you young bucks are. But so that, in my opinion, that's the greatest risk of COVID, is you get to the right-hand side of this traditional bell curve here. It's not, the orange is the percent of total deaths, and that's not a bell curve at all. It's very skewed on the right-hand side. Opposite of that, I wanted to just point out something else with the COVID while we're talking about it. Down here on the left-hand side, I bet a lot of you out there would be surprised to know that influenza deaths of children aged 0 to 17, going back the last decade, we had a horrible season in 2012 and 13, and over almost 1,200 kids in that range died from just the flu. And so this chart puts it in relative perspective to the flu seasons that we've had recently, with where COVID COVID-19 is affecting kids right now. And really, if you look at the 2015, 17, 18, right in here, this was much more dangerous for our children. So that's what's going on in the market today, driving today's specific activity. That's a big deal. I mean, you vote for a president, generally don't vote for a vice president. And so I think that's probably what's kind of spooked the markets a bit. But at the same time, I think what happens to President Trump and his health and how he recovers, this may speak loudly to the markets on the other side of the equation. If he goes through this in shining colors, it might offer some hope to some people that are anxious at this point. So the only time will tell what's going to happen with the president.
I was reading The Current in Carmel the other day, and there was an article someone had written about COVID in schools. And it was a pretty optimistic article. The data was the main focus, and basically just showing that, like the graph you just showed, that kids are pretty resilient during this time. And it'll be interesting to see what we have moving forward in our community and your communities, and see kids maybe get back to school even full time. But just before I came here, I was kind of up on two wheels coming into the office, because I get chatty at the coffee shop. And today I got really chatty because my friend Alexa was there. And Alexa is my brother's daughter. She is just a great girl. She's 7 years old. And I was so excited to see her. I said, "What are you doing? Are you going to work with Dad today?" And she was online doing school. Right there at the coffee shop, she was learning about ants. And she got to teach me what she knows. And it was just so exciting to be able to see her checking the box of going to school, but also getting some hang time with her daddy, and seeing his world and the people that come in and out of his business life. And so there's some real pluses to this thing. And I think one of the pluses is innovation. We've just had a lot of newness over the past, 9 months, 10 months now, where here we are doing Zoom. Alexa was doing school on Zoom, and it has created really good things. And one of those things is just recognizing the need for personal communication. And so we appreciate you guys joining today, tuning in to learn about the stock market, but also to learn about other things that are going on. But like Keith kicked it off with President Trump announcing he has COVID-19, and the First Lady, it has had an effect on the pre-market. And one of our good friends in the investment business, he said something today on his news alert. He said, "Don't let the news tell you when to buy and sell." I thought that was very good. It was good for me to hear that. Don't let the news tell you when to buy and sell. Sometimes a great plan doesn't work, but a plan you don't follow will never work. And so, we're just going to be unlucky on some of the things we do. And when we make a purchase, or when you make a purchase on a stock, you never know what it's going to do to the right hand of a chart. You never know. It could be the greatest company, the greatest story, the best stuff, the best ingredients behind the stock, but we never really know. But one thing we can focus on is just not allowing the news of the day to heavily influence what we got going on.
Let me throw out a couple of thoughts to you guys. I'll get a little controversial. Is that okay?
We'll see. Amanda, you got your mute button on him?
Yeah.
That's ready.
I know. I know this. I see myself in a rectangular box on Zoom, but I try to stay outside of a box in reality. And I know some of our clients are going to be offended, and maybe even your wife, Douglas. But the problem with the current economy, I think, is very risky to the teachers union. It's high risk to teachers, because the fact of the matter is, if my kids can go to school and learn U.S. history electronically, we really only need 1 or 2 teachers that can teach history, because if we get the very best teacher and they can teach it electronically, and all you have to do is add segments to it, much like the Khan Academy, all of a sudden our cost of education in the United States drops dramatically. And in business, we have to respond that way. So far, the government hasn't responded that way, but this is going to put a lot of pressure, I think, on teachers going forward. You were talking about innovation. That's what it made me think about, is because if I want to learn something that I missed during my school days, I do go to the Khan Academy, and it's just one website, 15-minute increments. And so there should be a lot of people rethinking how we teach our kids, because this opportunity there's definitely a subset of our kids that need to be face-to-face, but there are students that could reduce that population. So I don't mean to be offensive to people, but it's innovation is offensive to all of us, right? Like, our jobs are always at risk because of innovation.
Well, there's disruption going on, and there's 2 types of disruption. We prefer, positive changes. And, if you are a teacher, we want to applaud you right now for not being just an educator, because there are a lot of educators out there, but if you're a teacher, that's different. And you're going to find ways to be innovative, to reach the minds of your students, and to be creative. And you're going to use new technologies like Keith's talking about to make it happen. You're going to look for those positive disruptions, because these kids are speaking that language.
Yeah,
and
right.
We might as well too.
Well, let me give you some news ideas to help with what you said a while ago, Doug. I went back, and I'm going to have to get my readers out for this, and went back to the last 5 presidential elections. You get about 5 IQ points when you do this. When I look at those last 5.
I'm listening now all of a sudden. Okay, I'm
How's
listening
this
the whole
for
time.
IQ? So,
Same here.
almost every election year, there's a peak. In the last 5 elections, there's a summertime peak in the market before the election comes along. In the 2016, the market peaked out in September, and then it dropped 6% between September and election day, which when it dropped that 6%, it dropped in about 7 straight days. Every single day it was down. And so that's an anxious thing where you could get freaked out by the news. But if you happened to buy on that low and held it a year later, and I'm looking at the NASDAQ here, the NASDAQ was up 39% 12 months later. So if the news had scared you out of that market, you missed a huge opportunity. The 2012 election cycle, the market peaked out again in September around 3,200, dropped down to 2,800 right around the election, and that's a 12% drop. Had you bought at that bottom and rode it out another 12 months, it was up 47% a year later. The 2008, this one causes me to kind of have a little churning in my gut. We were already in a bad market by the time the election cycle came. It peaked out in the June timeframe around 2,500. By the time the election was done, we were down to 1,295. That's a whopping almost 50% drop in the market. And talk about having a bad, I had a bad day. Is there a song like that or something?
Man, that gives me flashbacks.
From that low, it did bottom out a little bit after that, another 30 points from that, but 12 months from that, it was up 77%. It didn't feel that good, though. That was really harsh. The 2004 market peaked out. Again, there was a peak earlier in the year, in January, but in the summertime, it peaked out around June, July at 2055, dropped 15% to 1750. From that 1750 point a year later, you're up 30%. And then we go back to, this is the worst market during my career, I believe, was the 2000 election cycle. If you remember that, that's when the internet first came, .com stocks. I think it was toys.com. People were buying, I don't even know if they had a product, and it was just shooting through the roof. And so stocks were getting out of control. They'd already started correcting and had corrected dramatically by the May timeframe. But but about July, we were about 42.90 on the NASDAQ. And when election day came, we bottomed out about 43% from that level. And this is the part why I think you need to know that you're not always right, because from that point, it dropped another 67%. So that would cause you that you don't know what the future is going to be, but out of the last 5 election cycles, they worked out pretty well. Most of them worked out pretty well for investors, but I think that helps maybe some of our viewers understand why we've taken a little cautionary approach to it. We still are willing to buy into things, even if we bought, some things that dropped a little bit. We're taking a close look at the risk we're subjecting portfolios to.
Yeah, and that cautiousness, that cautious stance really began from just listening to the stock market. Not necessarily thinking, okay, we've got the presidential election, coming up. But no, it's mainly just been listening from the market, trying to see what the buyers are doing, looking to see what the sellers are doing. And if you've been on this call for a few times, you know the way to track that is to look at volume. And so we can see how many, we can quantify it. How many people are selling that day? Are they coming out real strong? And when we see that, that tells us to be cautious and to keep a closer eye on investments. It just so happens that ties in with where we are in the presidential election. And then this morning, with the news of President Trump and COVID, there's some selling taking place, but we don't know what that will look like Monday or Tuesday. But as for today, having a cautious stance is not a bad thing. You want to?
I'll throw out. I'll just throw out a little training for our viewers, if you're okay with me showing a couple stock charts to people. And
as you're getting ready to do that, I logged on to our charting system today, and a lot of times when I pull it up, I get to see whatever the last thing one of us was looking at. And it was really fun. There was and we're not here to recommend stocks, so this is not a stock recommendation. But what it did was really encourage me. Keith, were you looking at mattresses?
I was. I was going to show some charts because the news could have, like you said, you can let the news scare you around, but there were some stocks that I was looking at for myself and some ideas. And again, even what I mentioned about these stock charts, we are not making broad recommendations. We're just pointing out historical facts. And so I'll just show some. Can you see my stock chart here?
Yep.
Yeah.
This has been a popular stock. It's not one to buy right now. It's but I'm just breaking this down in the day. All the early news was stocks were going to be down, and this stock, the buyers came in with a vengeance, and it didn't even go down. It just started shooting up on a down day.
So Keith, is that chart current? Like, is that like in the last, was that a 5-minute chart?
This one right now, I'm trying to get it to repopulate here. Here we go. Yeah, so this has been one of the leading stocks in this market. And so I was watching it to see what's really going on in the market, because if everybody was freaking out today because of that, I thought that would have been a stock they'd sell. Another one of the leading stocks in this market has been Tesla. And if you look over here, this red is today's Tesla price. On a 5-minute basis, this stock traded down below 420 this morning, and that was kind of the anxiety of the president's health. And you could see coming in here after those people that were getting out because of the news, the buyers stepped in and started pushing that stock back up in it. And I've seen this in a number of stocks this morning. AMD has been a company where you have a similar kind of thing. I don't know if y'all can see this. See if I can. Yeah, I can't get it to expand there, but on the 5-minute chart, you can see it started trading down right over here below 83, and it the buyers started coming in and pushed it back up to 84. So besides the indices give you an idea of what's generally going on in the market, but I was wanting to see whether people with large amounts of money were actually freaking out on this news. And by looking at those leading stocks, Doug, it just gave me an indication that there's still a lot of buyers out there for leading stocks. So it suggests that there's not a huge amount of pessimism with those who are moving large amounts of money in the marketplace.
Well, and that there's always something out there being celebrated because of creativity. And so Zoom's a great example, very creative company. It's meeting the needs of the times. And when I saw that mattress stock that you had up, I thought to myself, I was like, there is nothing innovative in a mattress. I thought that is the most boring product a person could buy. But then I did a little more searching on their name because I found their name so interesting. And their name has, one of the words is innovation. That's one of their names to the mattress company. And so when I started to dive a little deeper, these two brothers started this company and they started doing carbon fiber sports equipment, carbon fiber wheelchairs, and they have all this great stuff with patents and all types of technology that they have the rights to. And so even though it's a mattress company, they're really a research and development firm. And it's these two brothers who were fly fishing and said, hey, let's change the world. And the other one said, yeah, that sounds good to me. And so the marketplace is going to reward innovation. It's going to reward efficiencies, and it won't do it in short spurts. And so we're going to have news-driven markets where that innovation kind of gets lost. But really, in the long term, and I don't mean 25 years, I mean maybe a couple quarters, you're going to see innovation rewarded. You're going to be buying this innovation for your house, and your kids will buy it too. And it's just really fun to be a part of, and to think that one company can go from making carbon fiber wheelchairs to mattresses is just stunning to me. They're looking for efficiencies. They're looking for disruptive, positive change. And that's the stuff that really drives markets.
Even that's happening faster and faster. You know, who had anyone even heard of Zoom really before March?
Right.
That happened pretty fast too. So it'll just keep getting faster and faster. We just got to keep up.
Well, and I think, you know, on a serious note, I think the demand that drives mattresses, it drives some of the pharmaceuticals, and what we've been talking about, don't let the media disrupt your point of view, your investment philosophy. A lot of those things are interwoven with a tendency to steal our hope and our optimism. And so the reason I think there's so much demand for mattresses around the country, and mattresses are not inexpensive, is people aren't sleeping well because of anxiety and things of that nature. And so whether it's the mattresses that they're trying to find some, you know, a peaceful night's sleep, or some of the medications that maybe do that, a lot of those things are driven, I think, by just garbage into your brain and garbage out. And so I would again encourage people to turn off the news, turn off any negativity that you can in your life, because political seasons are, as long as I can remember back to when I first started voting, they've just been mudslinging. And so there's not going to be any optimism there. And we each have a vote, and that vote is not the one that's going to decide the outcome. And I encourage everybody to vote. I'm just saying, you have your vote. When you do it, that's it. So not to let this thing swamp you, because it can. A lot of people are getting swamped by this whole election thing, and there's no need to let that drive your life purpose and your level of peace of mind.
I've had an incredible week this week. One of the things that helped give me peace of mind is just with technology. I've attended 2 virtual conferences, and I'm going to attend another one the end of October. The end of October, you know, we've talked to you about wills and the importance of leaving a legacy over the years. And one of my friends, he lost his father while on vacation in Hawaii. But check this out. Before his dad passed, and it was a tragedy, he had brought letters with him on their vacation, their legacy letters to give to his kids to keep and to open after he passed. Yeah. And so my friend, he's got a virtual seminar that he's putting on the end of October. For $37, I signed up, and I'm going to learn how to write one of these letters to my sons. And so there's great learning opportunities out there for us. This week alone, there's a group in Indianapolis called Edge Mentoring. They've put on a great virtual conference. You don't even have to be there. You can go back and do the replays. That's what I've been doing. There's some fantastic speakers with great life experience. They're not giving advice, they're sharing their experience. And so many of us have this great experience to share with others. And you don't have to be the most optimistic person. You don't have to be a pessimistic, but you got to look for opportunities. And they're out there. And some of you, you've created some great opportunities that have helped change other people's lives. And we need to hear these stories, whether we're in person or doing things like this over Zoom. And so I want to encourage you not to get down with whatever you're seeing, whatever you're being told, but really take inventory of the opportunities that you've had in your life and share those with other people. You never know, you might be fly fishing and create the next best thing to change the world.
Have you guys seen Little Chef Cade?
Say it again.
Have you seen Little Chef Cade and his Nana Cindy? They're local to Indianapolis, and they actually were just featured on Ellen this week. Cade is a 2-year-old toddler and a master of toddler cuisine. He's a master taster and baker. This video of him and his Nana baking has gone viral, and it's just awesome. And I think about Debbie. I know she loves to bake chocolate cookies with her kids. It just is a reminder to turn the TV off, turn the news off, be encouraged, cook together, bake together, do things that you guys enjoy together, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and if you find yourself making some chili this weekend, bring it over on Monday. I'd love to eat it with you.
Share the love.
Yeah, I guess circle back around with that hope and encouragement. Like the first time I ever found myself in a bout of depression was the 1992. I think that was an election cycle there, and I didn't even know what it was. I'd always been upbeat and positive, and had no idea what hit me in the head with that thing. And it went on for several weeks. It was really disruptive to me, but it caused me to think about a lot of things and be introspective. But one of the things that I took away from that, and I picked it up from this financial writer named Nick Murray, is how do you keep a positive attitude? My mom came back from one of these kind of old school conferences like Doug was talking about there one time, and we all of us on our wall had 3 letters. We didn't know what it was, and those letters were PMA. And I think she left us maybe 2 months with those things on our walls. We had no idea what they were, and it stood for positive mental attitude. And it made a lasting impression. But how do you get a positive mental attitude with all the negativity coming at you? And one of the things Nick Murray taught me many years ago is to just write a letter to somebody and thank them for something. It doesn't matter who it is, what it is. Maybe it's a waitress or a waiter that did a remarkable job. Maybe it's a teacher that's doing a great job for your students, or is a great job for you. I took the opportunity to write one of my teachers like 15 years ago, and I've been out of school for years, and he finally called me and almost had tears in his eyes because it was the only letter he ever got like that. And so I would encourage you to, if you've never written a letter, just write, hey, I was thinking about you, have a great day, and sign it, put it in an envelope, and call it a day, and see what happens to your own attitude.
PMA. I like it. That's really cool, Keith.
Yeah. That's all I got today.
A lot of good
Have a
stuff here
blast.
today, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, have a blast this weekend, everybody. And thanks again for joining us, whether it's live or you're going to catch us on the replay. We don't care. We just love seeing you. So thanks.
Goodbye.
Have a great weekend. Bye, guys.